Hello everyone, welcome to PrimeTime Recaps. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. It will make us happy and help us keep making videos like this. Today, I'm going to be explaining a movie titled Project Gutenberg, released in the year 2018. Warning, spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie opens up with a young man named Lee Mann and his girlfriend Yoon. Both live happily together in Vancouver and they are professional painters in their own capacity. Yoon's paintings are original while Lee specializes in imitating paintings of other renowned painters. He is so good that he can replicate almost any type of painting. With his skill, his work doesn't seem popular among dealers and gallery show organizers, because they cannot display an inauthentic work at their galleries and showrooms. One day, Lee returns home and overhears Yoon's manager trying to talk Yoon into dissolving her partnership with Lee if she wants to be successful with her work. Surprisingly, Yoon sends her manager to hell as she claims she would never do his bidding. After a while, both manage to get a slot in an art show. At the show, most people loved Yoon's work, but criticize Lee's works. A guest named the artist crosses the line by calling Lee's painting fake. This enrages Yoon, thus, she embarrasses him and asks him to leave. Lee on the other hand doesn't feel so much disgust like Yoon, so he goes after the artist to apologize, only to find out that all that happened back in the showroom was an arrangement made by the artist to meet him in private. Both go to a bar after to talk. There, the man offers Lee a job for his beautiful skill. Lee goes back after the meeting to destroy the painting that has earlier been criticized. The next day, he meets up with the man and agrees to work for him. Following this, the artist tells him his job would be to replicate huge bundles of $100 bill that will be impossible to recognize. He tells Lee how desperate he is for Lee to join his team, since he cannot print the money without being suspicious. Initially, Lee refuses to do it, but when he realizes he'd be flowing in money, he agrees to do the job. He returns home soon after to see Yoon moving out of their home. She has made up her mind to leave him after the stunt he pulled earlier that day. In the next scene, Lee joins the artist and his team on his private plane to Thailand. However, he still plans to return and sort things out with Yoon after making some money. The team consists of printing plate specialist named Mr. Yarm, a color theory expert and two people in charge of security and sales. The new US $100 bill has a different version of Franklin's portrait. It is also enlarged by 50% and has more details and lines. If they use a commercial printer with the highest resolution, the result would still be of a different pattern and will not be precise. In addition, there is a micro print on the bill with the inscription of the United States of America. A commercial printer will not be able to precisely print this, and this is where Lee will display his skill, because he can paint better than the printers. The bills are made of scratch-free papers that turn the black ink of the counterfeit detection pan into yellow. This is what helps banks separate fake from real. The artist says he is yet to find a way of getting the scratch papers, but until then, he wants Lee to very hard on the printing process. Following this, Lee paints the $100 bill with absolute precision, not missing any detail as regards the lines and streaks. However, to invent the watermark and security threats on the counterfeit is yet another problem. Thus, they plan to use a Chinese painting method, where the real painting is sandwiched between two papers that are compressed to make the middle layer different. The next to achieve is the printing process, and this is under Mr. Yarm's area of expertise. He uses his skills to create a printing plate that paints over 10,000 of a millimeter precision. While testing, they see that there is no more air factor. This means that they have finally succeeded in their imitation production. Later on, the artist figures out a way to acquire scratch papers, which will be the main material for production. In no time, they travel to Eastern Europe, to a phone book manufacturing company. This company used scratch papers that are double the weight of a $100 bill to produce phone books. The weights seem perfect for the sandwich M process. As a result, they buy a huge bulk of it, under the disguise of a Chinese comic book company. After importing the scratch papers, they soon begin to produce counterfeits that cannot be easily differentiated from the original dollar bill. They begin to sell it through an antique shop to wholesalers, and they are very careful of the kind of people they do business with. 6 months after, Lee returned to Vancouver in order to return the key to Yoon. He doesn't want to meet her, so he drops the key for her on the table. The artist calls him a coward for easily giving up on Yoon, and this causes an argument between them. To prove point, the artist pulls out a gun and goes towards a police car to rob, without thinking of the consequences of his actions. Lee picks up a gun too, but is unable to shoot. The artist decides to shoot all the policemen while Lee is left in shock on the floor. It now dawns on Lee that his boss is a completely different person. This scares him the more because he only signed up to paint and not to kill people. In the next scene, we see a counterfeit bill expert in the police force named Wing. He has been transferred from Hong Kong to Canada because the police are now aware of the increase in fake dollar bills globally. Wing and the head of Hong Kong police, Inspector Ho. The duo go on an undercover mission and pose to be dealers of counterfeit money to trap buyers. They meet with several brokers and finally, they meet the artist at a boat party. There, their plans become abortive when they find out that the artist sent his brokers in his place. They test Wing in different ways and conclude that he isn't a threat. Later on, Lee approaches the artist and renounces his partnership. However, he promises to find a new way to keep their business going before he finally leaves. The artist tells him to do whatever he wants without a fuss. Soon after, the team begin to travel around the world, selling their money at an international level. They make a lot of profit as demands increase, and this gets the attention of Thailand's highest crime boss, the general. He invites the artist and his team to his hideout for a business meeting. Sadly, it turns out that the general is responsible for the death of the artist's father a long time ago. As a result, the artist isn't there for business, but revenge. He commands Lee to power the explosives in his pocket, but Lee cowardly refuses. Moments later, a car explodes and a combat between both gangs begins. In the fight, all of the general's men are killed except the counterfeit money expert named Sarah, who is saved from the fire by Lee. The group goes with Sarah and invites her to join the team while taking care of her. Because of her skills, Lee takes care of her and both become friends. Soon, she is given Yoon's identity to impersonate. The team takes a year break from their business, after the incident. While on break, Lee seizes the opportunity to go to Vancouver to meet Yoon and win her back. Yoon is now a famous artist and is doing well for herself. Sadly, she is engaged to her manager. The artist persuades Lee to fight for his love, but he chooses to accept defeat instead. In the next scene, the team is on a yacht and on their way for a business meeting with the undercover policeman, Wing. The artist finds out about Wing's true identity after doing his research. He also discovers that the police were able to find them because the printing plate expert, Mr. Yarm, broke the rules by buying a watch with counterfeit money. The artist decides along with the team, to punish Mr. Yarm for breaking the law. They first kill his family and then the artist shoots him. Lee isn't in support of this and is knocked off when he attempts to fight for Mr. Yarm. Afterwards, the team meet with Wing, who is unaware that they know his identity. When they are all in a secured room, the artist asks Lee to kill Wing, but later does the job himself, since Lee is scared of killing. In order to overcome Lee's fear for killing, the artist hands Lee a gun to finish off his ex-girlfriend, Yoon, and her fiancé, since he still hurts from their separation. Again, Lee refuses. This sparks the artist's anger and irritation towards Lee, thus, he kills Yoon's fiancé himself, while Lee saves Yoon. Sarah, being aware that Yoon will also be killed, attacked the rest of the team in order to save both Yoon and Lee. In the shooting spree, all members of the team die and Lee finally kills his boss, the artist. After the fight, Sarah takes Lee to the resort the artist had bought for them. They find out he's still alive as the police never recovered his body. One day, Lee reads about the memorial Yoon is organizing for her late fiancé. Lee suspects that the artist will be there to kill Yoon, and so, he decides to go. Unfortunately, he gets apprehended by the police for using the counterfeit money which he used by accident. He is then flown to Hong Kong and interrogated. While there, he is still more terrified of getting killed by the artist if he reveals his identity, thus, he stays quiet when interrogated. Moments later, Yoon meets him and pleads with him to cooperate with the police. The police promise to release Lee into witness protection when he reveals the artist's identity and criminal record. Afterwards, Lee tells the police all about his past, starting from his relationship with Yoon, how he met the artist, the money-making process, the first murder he witnessed.
He then goes further to help. The police are sketches of the two people remaining in their group, that is, Sarah and the artist. Lee and Yoon reunite finally. The police immediately begin to search for the artist. While at it, Inspector Ho notices artist, who is disguised as a police officer, in the police headquarters. She instigates his arrest and interrogation, only to find out that the man has been a police officer for years and could not have been the artist. This seems strange to Lee. It is later revealed that the policeman is the one who helped Ho to bring Lee from Thailand to Hong Kong. A flashback reveals that Lee and the artist are the same person. Lee created the artist in his mind to escape the reality of being identified as a terrible criminal. Lee was the same person committing all the crimes thought to be committed by the artist. He killed Mr. Yarm and his family for buying a watch. Yoon's fiancée was also killed by him. There's yet another truth is revealed that the girl who came to bail Lee out is Sarah and not Yoon. It happened that Sarah was so obsessed with Lee that she got a plastic surgery since her face was burnt. She did it so she could look like Yoon. She came to save her lover and they both escape from the hotel room after killing the guards. As the couple are together, Sarah is however unhappy that she will always be a counterfeit Yoon and a second option for Lee. When she asks him if he can truly see her for who she is, Lee tells her that he still loves Yoon. The next day, they run away from Hong Kong, on a boat. While on the boat, Sarah tells Lee that she's been driving the boat in circles for hours and that they are still around Hong Kong. She holds an explosive and says she wants the both of them to die so she can end her own life of misery. Moments later, they are surrounded by the police, but it is too late to catch them as the boat shortly explodes. The movie ends with Inspector Ho going to meet the real Yoon with Lee's picture, to inform her that the killer of her fiancé is dead. She immediately recognizes him as her neighbor. It is now clear that Lee imagined his whole relationship with Yoon and they were never lovers. I hope you liked the movie. Please turn on the bell icon to be the first to watch our videos when we post contents like this. You can also suggest a movie you would love us to explain in the comments section. Thanks for watching.